Hey, this is indeed Walt from the Comic Book Men, and you're listening to the I, Walter Show.
Looking in the back, the cockpit's not answering. Somebody's stabbed in business class, and I think there's mates that we can't breathe. I don't know. I think we're getting hijacked.
Which flight are you on?
Flight 12.
And what seat are you in? Ma'am, are you there?
Yes.
What seat are you in?
Ma'am, what seat are you in? We just left Boston. We're up in the air.
I know.
We're supposed to go to L.A., and the cockpit's not answering their phone.
Okay, but what seat are you sitting in? What's the number of your seat?
Okay, I'm in my jump seat right now.
Okay.
At 3R.
Okay, you're the flight attendant? I'm sorry, did you say you're the flight attendant?
Hello?
Yes, hello?
What is your name?
Hi. You're going to have to speak up. I can't hear you.
Sure. What is your name?
Okay, my name is Betty Ong. I'm number 3 on flight 11.
Okay.
And the cockpit is not answering their phone. And there's somebody stabbed in business class, and we can't breathe in business class. Somebody's got mace or something.
Can you describe the person that you said someone is what in business class?
I'm sitting in the back. Somebody's coming back from business. If you can hold on for 1 second, they're coming back. Our number 1 got stabbed. Our purser is stabbed. Nobody knows who stabbed who, and we can't even get up to business class right now because nobody can breathe. Our number 1 is stabbed right now.
Okay.
And our number 5, our first class passengers, our first class galley flight attendant, and our purser's been stabbed. And we can't get to the cockpit. The door won't open. Hello?
Yeah, I'm taking down all the information. We're also, of course, recording this. At this point...
This is operations. What flight number are we talking about?
Flight 12.
Flight 12. Okay, we're on flight 11 right now. This is flight 11.
It's flight 11. I'm sorry, Nitty.
Boston to Los Angeles.
Yes.
Our number 1 has been stabbed, and our 5 has been stabbed. Can anybody get up to the cockpit? Can anybody get up to the cockpit? Okay, we can't even get into the cockpit. We don't know who's up there.
Well, if they were shrewd, they would keep the door closed, and...
I'm sorry?
Would they not maintain a sterile cockpit?
I think the guys are up there. They might have found their way up there or something. Nobody can call the cockpit. We can't even get inside. Still there?
Yes, we're still here.
Okay. I'm staying on the line as well.
Okay.
Hi, who is calling reservations? Is this one of the flight attendants, or who are you, hon?
She gave her name as Betty Ong.
Betty? Yeah, I'm number 3. I'm number 3 on this flight.
You're the number 3 on the flight?
Yes.
And this is flight 11? From where to
flight
where?
11.
Have you guys called anyone else?
No. Somebody's calling medical, and we can't get a stop.
Faster than a speeding bullet, more powerful than a locomotive, able to leap tall buildings in a single bound. Look, up in the sky, it's a bird brain, it's a plane, it's I, Walter. Yes, it's I, Walter, strange visitor from another planet who came to Earth with powers and abilities far beyond those of mortal men. I, Walter, who can change the course of mighty rivers, bend ears with his annoying voice, and who, disguised as Walter Interranti, mild-mannered janitor for a great metropolitan newspaper, fights a never-ending battle for truth, nonsense, and the American way. And now, another exciting episode in the adventures of I, Walter.
Hey everyone, this is Walter. been off for about a week because I've been working a lot. Anyway, before I go any further, it is the remainder of September 11th, and I just had played a segment from American Airlines Flight 11 that actually now, I don't want to use the word famous, but it was the one where a lot of individuals that were heroes actually had stopped a plane from actually going down towards Washington, D.C. The other two planes actually ended up where they were supposed to because nobody had no clue. Obviously, I'm talking about the ones that hit the World Trade Centers. And yes, that was a terrorist attack for those who don't know. I don't plan tonight to go into details. I made a comment the other day, I think, when I did a show, or at least mention it to my one friend about this guy who was asking people to remember what September 11th was in 2001. I honestly don't know all the details, but I do know the gruesome facts that there was a lot of people, the number I'm not familiar with, but there was, a lot of Americans who had died that day from a terrorist attack. I do want to play another segment. It was actually from, I believe, a female that was in the building, the World Trade Center, Melissa, and it was a phone call. It was her last phone call she would have made, and I want to play that. So I didn't want to really go in. I do want people to remember, because this is like 15 years ago, and people actually forgot not that long afterwards what September 11th was about. I mean, it's kind of obvious, I think, was the way people vote. It's very self-centered on the way people decide who they're going to vote for, in my opinion. And I think there's other things that kind of point towards people forgetting. Like, we have to apologize to the people who murdered so many of us Americans. We seem to forget, what our purpose was and what we were hopefully going to remember and not have it happen again. But then we just had basically forgot everything after just a few years. I'm going to put in real quick how many died, because I apologize for not knowing how many died. Because, and the way they died was horrible. I just remember I just graduated from college, and I was looking for a job. It says the September 11th attack, I was going to say something, but that would have been a little bit off. Attacks killed 2,977 people and injured more than 6,000 others, not including the 19 terrorists, it actually says, responsible for the attacks. The immediate deaths included 265 of the four planes, 2,606 in the World Trade Center and the surrounding area, and 125 at the Pentagon. So it's very sad how people forget this stuff. And when I hear people and their points of view on politics and who in their right mind, who would vote for Hillary Clinton, who, I'm not saying she was solely responsible for what happened on 9/11, but she's somebody who will support these people who were these terrorists and back them up, just like President Barack Obama will. And they just kind of forget about, you might have had loved ones somehow that might have worked somewhere around there. I have a brother who works in Washington, D.C., so, he works in the Justice Department, and it was pretty scary for us. But I know people actually that lived around here who had friends or loved ones that were nearby, that part of New York where the World Trade Centers first stood. We have new ones, the Freedom Towers, but it doesn't dismiss what happened 15 years ago. So I'm not going to waste any time. I have no stories lined up. I don't know how long I'm going to go tonight. I just want to make, people aware, what happened, because it was 15 years ago. And people's points of view, especially on politics, have changed drastically. In fact, I think the face of this planet has changed drastically in the last 15 years, and not in a good way. It's just kind of went in a direction I don't even comprehend, or I can't even understand why people will allow things to get out of hand. Anyway, here we go. I'm going to play the second one, and I apologize because I don't know how to pronounce her last name, but it says call from the World Trade Center. It was like the last call, and I'll just let you know now, it put tears in my eyes. The flight one that I played, I only played part of it because it's pretty long, but you're talking about people's last 4 to 8 minutes of life before they were, they got killed. So it's nothing that, when it comes to somebody's life, I don't care if it's even hours of segments that I play. It's not gonna do them justice. So, I would appreciate it that people do listen to this stuff, unless it's too upsetting. Then I understand if you don't. But I'm gonna play the second segment now. Here we go. And it was some woman named Melissa. It was the last few minutes that she was alive, and she actually tried to call for help in the World Trade Center. So here we go.
A695, good morning, have a good day. Hi, what's your number again, please? A695. Oh my God, I'm on the 83rd floor. A6 what? I'm on the 83rd floor. Tell me A6 what? A695. A695. She at the World Trade Center. Someone having difficulty breathing on the 83rd floor. Okay, ma'am, how you doing? Are they going to be able to get somebody up here? Well, of course, ma'am. We're coming up to you. Well, there's no one here yet, and the floor is completely engulfed. We're on the floor, and we can't breathe. Okay. And it's very, very, very hot. Are the lights still on? The lights are on, but it's very hot. Ma'am. Very hot. We're all the way on the other side of Liberty, and it's very, very hot. Any lights? You can turn the lights off? No, the lights are off. Okay, good. Now, everybody stay calm. You're doing a good job. Please. Ma'am, listen. The ambulance, everybody's coming. Everybody knows. Everybody knows what happened, okay? Sure. But don't know they have to take time to come up here. You know that. Got to be very careful. Very hot. I understand. Got to be very, very careful how they approach you, okay? All right? So when they come upstairs, it won't be worse than it is. Now, you stay calm. So how many people where you're at right now? There's like 5 people here with me. All up from the 83rd floor? 83rd floor. With 5 people. 5 patients. Everybody's having trouble breathing? Everybody's having trouble breathing. Some people are worse. And some people are unconscious. Everybody's awake? So far, yes. But listen. Everybody's awake? Yes, so far. Conscious. And it's very hot there, but no fire, right? I can't see. It's too high. Very hot. No fire for now, and no smoke, right? No smoke, right? Of course there's smoke. Ma'am, you have to stay calm. There is smoke. I can't breathe. Okay, you stay calm with me, okay? I understand. I think there is fire because it's very hot. Okay. It's very hot everywhere on the floor. Okay. I know you don't see it, and I know, but I'm going to document. I'm documenting what you say, okay? And it's very hot. We see no fire, but you see smoke, right? It's very hot. I don't see any air anymore. Okay. All I see is smoke. Okay, dear. I'm so sorry. Hold on stay calm with me. Stay calm. Now, listen. The call is in. I'm documenting. I'm going to let those... Hold on 1 second, please. I'm going to die, aren't I? No. I'm going to die. Ma'am, say your prayers. And we're going to think positive because you got to help each other get off the floor. I'm going to die. Stay calm. You're doing a good job, ma'am. You're doing a good job. It's so hot. I'm burning up. Okay. If you don't, the floors is hot and everything is hot. They're all their destinies. When you go up high, you get too close away from the smoke. Okay. I know you know. Hold on a second. 83rd floor, 3 people trapped. It's very hot on the 83rd floor. 3 people trapped. Having trouble breathing. It's very hot. Wait, we hear voices. Help! That's what I'm doing. I'm just letting you know. Okay. Hello, ma'am? Help! Stay calm. Ma'am? Help! Stay calm. Just don't move. Oh, my God. They're coming through with you now? Find out if there's anybody here on the 83rd floor. Ma'am, don't worry. You stay on the phone with me, and I already know. Can you find out if there's anyone on the 83rd floor? Because... Ma'am, I already... Listen. Excuse me. I already notified the lieutenant, okay? Ado, I notified the city. 80? Yes, Lieutenant 80. I already notified the lieutenant that there's 5 people on the first floor, right? Very hot and smoky, so they won't overlook you, okay, dear? Can you? I already did that, ma'am. Stay on the line with me, please. Yes, ma'am, I am going to stay with you. I'm dying. Listen, take they're here? Are they inside with you yet, dear? No. Okay, stay calm till they get inside. Find out where they are. Ma'am, stay calm till they get inside. Karen. EMS, what's the job number you have? I have 727. 727? Yes.
All right, the rest of that got cut off, just to let you know. That was her last phone call. I don't know how else to put it. I mean, it's really, again, I don't know what else to say. That's really depressing. You know, I try to look for segments that kind of give me a proper feel, or at least let people know what went on. But these are real people, just everyday, ordinary people. And the thing that got me upset about that one particular call, because I was looking for something that we can, you know, I can't think of the right word, commemorate. You know, not that it's a commemoration, whatever, but people died on September 11th, 2001, 15 years ago. Again, that's when I graduated from getting my college degree. And, you know, that's what I woke up to one morning when I didn't have to go to school, was, you know, a terrorist attack. But the thing was, with that second call that really got to me, I could barely get through that. I really can't get through that. It's just too depressing. It's, you know, this poor woman was asking for help, and the person on the other side's just saying to calm down. It's like, how the fuck do you calm down when you know that this is going to be the last, you know, this is going to be your last day on Earth. You know, there's no more. You're going to die. There's no ifs, ands, and buts. You're basically going to, you know, you're dead. You have no, you know, you have, I can't even think of the correct words. I can't even think right now. You know, life is out of your hands. I mean, it always has been for everybody, but this is it. You are facing death's door. You know, if you believe in God, you're going to heaven or hell. Right now, there's no turning back. It's over. So, I mean, just thinking of that and facing it at a time that you didn't expect to happen. You know, you go to work, expect to go home. You don't expect to go to work and die at work and never see anybody again. You know, that's the last thing on your mind. So, I just want people to know, you know, what happened back then. And that was a good chunk of my beginning of my show, but for good reason, too. I think people, again, need to know, especially this November when you go out to vote. I mean, I fumble a lot of things I say. I make jokes about stuff, but no offense, this is one thing you don't joke about. This is extremely serious. And I think one thing we need to do, honestly, when it comes to, I believe, I got to check that date again, because I can't remember. So I'm looking right now. I think it's November 4th. Oh, Tuesday, November 8th. You know, when that day comes around, I just told people kind of get off their, you know, their high horse and vote correctly, and not, you know, don't vote with your heart or from, you know, some lame excuse why you think you should vote for somebody like Hillary Clinton, who has done nothing for this country at all, even as Secretary of State, and let those freaking people die in Benghazi, and then lying about that, lying about the emails. I mean, the woman's been corrupt for years. So has her husband, and no offense, but Obama's no angel. So, rude awakening, just letting you know. So, you know, finally, if you really wanted to, you know, folks, at least the ones in this country, if you get off your either your millennial ass, or, you know, stop being dependent on the government, or whatever it may be, or thinking that you know better than Walter does. Walter's just crazy. He has no clue what he's talking about. Well, great, but you got to do your homework, and I don't think you are. Because the people I talk to who will vote for Hillary, they basically recite probably almost like a puppet, word for word of what has been put in their head by the media and by the government, what they want you to say. I mean, it's like basically like when you're in middle school. I mean, like when you're in grade school and you're asked to memorize how to remember. The first thing that comes to my head when I was supposed to have to memorize the months of the year and how many days were in each month of the year. There was a nursery rhyme we had to learn. Well, guess what? That's not too far from what people do, but this is more serious than learning some stupid nursery rhyme that I learned when I was in like kindergarten. This is, but that, I mean, I'm just saying this is how brainwashed, our society is. Because you got people who basically are, again, they're just dictating what they're being brainwashed. I mean, they're like a bunch of zombies who have no mind of their own. All they do know is what they're being told they should say and what they should do. And they follow that like a perfect zombie. Almost like I'm not referring to the band, but there's a movie called White Zombie with Bela Lugosi. I mean, that's how if you watch that film, I think might be even a silent film. I can't remember. I haven't seen it in a while. I could barely get through it. But that type of zombie where you basically are hypnotized and basically, you are just a lifeless piece of flesh just doing what you're told to do. I mean, it's precisely what is going on in our society nowadays. Now, it was funny the other day. I was mentioning to my friend because my concerns seem a little bit out of the ordinary. I was going to mention this to a friend. And my response was, not from him, this gentleman at my job, when he was saying, he's on the same side I am on politics. And he reads the Drudge Report like faithfully every single day for hours on end when he's not working at work. So, what was I going to say? I said something on my concern that, my concern is in February. I'm sorry. I'm thinking of my birthday now. So let me backtrack. This November 8th is the millennials going out, these people who really just were brainwashed from, middle school, kindergarten, grade school, whatever, college, to tell them what is right and what is wrong, that these same people now are at the age they can vote. They've been able to vote probably for quite a while. And that these same people now are going to vote for who they were told to vote for. And that's going to be Hillary Clinton, because she's such a loving and wonderful woman who's going to bring equality to women. And, she's going to change everything, and she's going to fix the problems we've had for the past 8 years, even though she is solely responsible for a lot of this problems, too, because she was Secretary of State. She had some say in what was going on. I'm not saying she was the final one who would say yay or nay to certain laws, but she certainly was in that office, in some government office that she had some say, and she certainly messed up Benghazi pretty severely and just turned the other cheek on the whole thing and told those family members of those loved ones who got killed over there that, my heart goes out to these people, to your, what do you call it? To the ones who got killed over there. like she had nothing to do with it. Even though she was the Secretary of State, she had nothing to do with it. She was just an innocent bystander. You know, she had no clue. She couldn't do anything about it. No, of course not. So, yeah, all that bullshit, seriously, it's got to stop. And the way you stop it is you go out and vote. And you look. I'm not saying that Donald Trump's, you know, an innocent bystander or, you know, the best choice. Is he our only choice? Yeah. And is he that bad? Because I'm going to take that back, what I just said, for a minute. I actually think he is a really good choice. I would have voted for him. I mean, I looked through everybody who was running, and I'm not very familiar with politics. And I said this before, and I'm going to say it again. I mean, I did like Ted Cruz. But I really was more interested for the longest time was in somebody who actually did not fit the norm of being a typical politician. I mean, I've heard this from other people, and I'll get corrected on this, but honestly, I'm just speaking from, you know, how I feel. I'm not speaking from the heart. I'm not speaking as a passionate person. I'm just speaking from my point of view, which my point of view is I really am just so fed up with, you know, the whole thing of both political parties because nothing seems to get resolved. And, you know, it's going to be probably, if this works, and, you know, I'm not going to say he will, but I'm just saying if he does get into office, Donald Trump, it's going to be the biggest freaking stir-up we've ever had because you actually have truly somebody who has absolutely no political background who's going to be commander-in-chief. Plain and simple. There's no way around that. That is the absolute fact. You know, you actually have somebody who has no background at all in politics that's going to be, you know, in our country. Running our country, I guess, so to speak. Or I shouldn't say running it. Maybe that's too strong a word, but he will be commander-in-chief. How's that? Yeah, so I did, again, I've been wanting to do some podcasts for quite a while. Now, this week is going to be probably a no. It's going to be the only one I'm going to have. I was going to do one last night, but I was so tired from working so hard during the course of the week that every chance I had, I had to call and or text, I should say, a supervisor of mine, to tell him, hey, we've had a short week already, but it's going to be, things aren't going to get done. Do you mind if I stay after for a couple hours? So that turned in, and then it was my mother's birthday. She had her birthday on Friday, so I even had I basically got hardly any sleep the one night. I slept most of the week yesterday. Well, the remainder for the next 10 minutes of yesterday. That's where most of my sleep got caught up. And that's not the way you're supposed to do it. You don't sleep once a week for how many hours, and then the rest of the week you just stay awake all the time. That's not the way things work. But unfortunately, that is what happened to me. So, you know, I had broken sleep all week. Thank God for my parents because they helped me pick up food and helped me out during the week. So I helped them out by treating them for them taking care of me all week, which, again, it's definitely appreciated. So, yeah, I mean, literally, I only worked, believe it or not. It was amazing. I don't know how I did it because there's no other way around it. I just basically busted my ass. One day I worked, I think, 2 hours, exactly like 2 to 2.5 hours. The next day I worked about 3, possibly 3.5 hours, but I think it was another 2.5 hour day. And then the very last day, just to make sure things would be where they're supposed to be during the course of the week, even during a short week, I basically put in another 3 hours. And it was the hardest 3 hours because I had people coming up to me, people that work who have positions above me. I assist certain people at my job. And they said, "Oh, you're working third shift tonight." And I said, "Well, I'm here, but I'm planning to leave within, an hour or so. I want to get out of here. I need to leave." Well, guess where that led to? Them saying, "Oh, can you do this? Can you do that? Can you do this?" So that 3 hours was like 16 hours worth of work in literally 3 hours. I mean, my shift when I work is from 4 till 12:30. I did not want to stay any longer than I had to. I wanted to get out of there as quickly as possible and get home. I slept the next day until 7 p.m. because I was that exhausted. So, yeah, that's pretty scary that I actually slept almost a whole entire day and night because I was so out of it. And then I kept on having broken sleep simply because I was in so much pain from, my muscles being sore. I have stirred up that I haven't had it in years, but I've stirred up my carpal tunnel to a really severe point that it's beyond pain. It's beyond painful. So I got up, I don't know how many times during the course of Saturday. And what I did is I got this on Amazon, this thing that I mentioned before, and a friend thought it was just me wasting money. It's like, no, this has been a lifesaver to a certain point because it's a lot cheaper and it's been pretty effective. And it was this thing I'm looking at right now, electronic pulse massager. And basically you're putting like little fine zaps of voltage onto wherever you have pain. So, that's exactly what I was doing. And I had to do it for, normally it lasts of segments that you're not supposed to go any longer than 15 minutes. But the pain was so severe that I did intervals of about 45 minutes. Like I kept on setting this piece of machinery and re-zapping my wrist, and they said keep it away from your heart, but the pain was so close to my upper arms, which obviously is where the arteries lead to your heart. From that one artery goes down pretty much to your legs, and I would assume towards down your arms, like your large artery. I don't know what I'm talking about, but you probably get the gist. And it was definitely pretty close to my heart. It was like, you know what? The pain is so bad. I don't care. If it kills me, I would not give two shits because it's just, I can't live with this pain. Now, if I give it at least a couple days to a couple weeks, the pain will subside and I will be back to normal. But I haven't had that chance one time yet to let my muscles recuperate, thanks to what I have to deal with on a daily freaking basis. So, it was not fun. The one night I worked, Thursday night was one of the nights I worked, and I keep on telling myself every day, well, this is going to be the last day I'm going to work any overtime, but it ended up being, I got to get some more done, because if I don't, nobody else is going to, pick up the slack. So, I'm trying to do something, and people don't realize I'm not trying to ruin people's jobs. I'm trying to save people's jobs. Because they're going to look, if people are trying, just an FYI, if you're trying to do this because you want to basically get more time in at work, meaning overtime, and this is going to be successful, look at other companies and how they work. If a company is paying too much money out to their employees, a.k.a. like McDonald's or Walmart, and you ask for way too much and you're pushing a company way too far, because it's not like the whole chain that does this, like for McDonald's or Walmart, but this was what happened out in the West Coast when these people said, we want higher wages, we want more. Well, they said, okay, we'll give it to you, and guess what they end up doing? They end up downsizing the workforce to give them what they wanted. So, some of these people think they are geniuses on how to basically I don't know how else to put it, take advantage of a company by screwing them over, and then this is going to make their job more secure. Well, actually, what I've read on the news and what I've seen from past experiences, what I've seen like from these other companies, one, and when this is the most severe thing, the company will just pick up and move elsewhere. I mean, this is where I work. This company can just basically say, you know what, this is being too costly. Too many mistakes are being made, blah, blah, blah. We're at the point now that we can't afford to stay here any longer because of what we're paying in wages, human error, and other things. Now, when it gets to that point, again, it's really simple. We'll take care of this problem. We will just pick up and move out. I've known companies that have done this years ago from people that where I work had worked for other companies where they said this kind of like did happen. One guy, he worked at a place, I think it was Stroman Bread or something like that. And he experienced something where it got to the point that the company just decided without letting anybody know. You know, they just decided, the company locked the gates. It's called, I think it's called a lockout. And he came to work, and he said the gates were locked for where he worked. I think it was Stroman. And, so he came to work, and then, lo and behold, couldn't get to work. Nobody else could. And, that's because they basically closed the gates permanently. And that could happen, too. You don't think it happens, when you have this wishful thinking thing going on that, this won't ever happen to where I work. Well, guess what? It could. And I'm trying to avoid that whole situation from happening. By hook or by crook, I will do everything in my power to make sure the job I have right now is going to stay there as long as it can, because I'd rather have some income with health benefits than no job and no income and no health benefits, which I'll end up having to pay up to $800 a month for. I mean, you got to think, people. You got to think. Which most of us don't do. We don't think with, our heads. And, what is that? Most of these people, but this is meant for a different reason, but they don't think with their big heads. They think with another head. For men, they're little heads, or women, they're other organs or whatever. Not organs, but you know what I'm trying to say. And that's not a very good way of putting it. But I'm telling you, though, either way, people just clearly aren't thinking. That's obvious. If you were, the whole purpose is where you work is you try to make your job as safe as possible when you're there. You don't try to screw over other people. And I'm sure most people are saying, you don't want to screw over other people, but you're screwing us all over. Yeah, think a little bit more clearly, because you obviously are not seeing the whole picture. Because if you were seeing the whole picture, by you sabotaging a job is going to put everyone on the streets. Everyone is going to be on the streets. Now, most people, when I say this stuff, they just laugh at me like I have no fucking clue. So when that happens, I'm not going to be laughing, but I will be telling you, I told you so. Because then it'll be too late, obviously, by that point, too. So, unfortunately. But, I'm just wasting my breath. Because the people who will hear this and complain about me being the bad guy are the same ones who are going to complain when this actually does take place, if they continue to go in the direction they are. Because I've seen this with other companies. And these are the same people who are going to vote for Hillary Clinton as well. Doesn't matter who it was. I mean, I hate to say this. I'm not trying to be derogatory or anything else. But no offense, you could put a freaking chimpanzee in a outfit, a suit, and have them just stand there. And if you put the word Democrat in front of them, I guarantee you those same people would vote for a chimpanzee, a pile of shit, or even who knows what else. Because their excuse will be, well, I like what they stand for, a pile of shit. a chimpanzee. I like what they stand for, and they seem much better than Ted Cruz or what do you call it? Donald Trump. They seem to make more sense. I mean, you could get Helen Keller and put her as running as a Democrat, and the same response would come out of that person. If you brainwash them enough, they're going to say, well, and I hear these people fucking talk, and what they say is like, basically, they're talking like from a textbook. Like they are so brainwashed that everything they say is no more or no less than something written that was on a teleprompter. You know, basically it's like they're speaking from a textbook. Like they're not even talking from their own heads. They're talking from what they've been told to say. They're like automatons. So, I don't know. I just don't want to go off. It just gets me upset on this time of year too, which is now over. But I'm just saying, this is what we have to deal with. I don't want to have to deal with this for another 8 years, though. I really don't think I could handle that. I mean, people play all these jokes. I'm looking at now, there's a joke of putting Hillary Clinton's face over top of Donald Trump's. I mean, come on. Stop with the fucking nonsense, people. Grow the fuck up. You're not in grade school. It's not, I mean, we went out last night, a friend and I, and all I see is like people just trying to get sloshed from these college campuses and stuff. Walking because they can't drive. They're too drunk to drive. That was annoying to me last night. I mean, I had the same mind frame I did when I was in college 30 years ago, 20 years ago. I haven't changed my point of view on how I think about things or people. But of course, I also haven't had other people tell me how I should think, meaning people from the media, the press, or the government. Because I'll go tell all of those, all the above, to go fuck themselves. So, I don't know. I've always been like that. I've been very strong-willed. So, yeah. So, I don't know. I don't know what else to say, folks. But again, I'm going to a Rob Zombie concert this week. So I have a short week. I'm only going to be there for 3 days. So they can talk behind my back and badmouth me all they want after Wednesday, because I won't be there. And I've heard from the past how people said that, yeah, Walter doesn't carry his share of the work. I've literally heard this. And I can name the people, but it's not important. But I will name them if you want me to. It won't be on the air, I'll tell you that much. I'm not that stupid. But I will name them off there. I will give the names of the people who said that I am not carrying my share of the weight, that I'm actually giving way too much work for everybody else to do. It's not that hard. I can do it. I can name the names. It's not hard. For those individuals who think I just make this stuff up at the top of my head just to get sympathy. But I don't want any fucking sympathy. Because all I'm going to get sympathy off of is a bunch of deadbeats, or people who are more prone to be thinking of themselves than anything else. So why would I want their sympathy? I mean, that's like, yeah, no, I don't want your sympathy. So anyway, it's been an interesting short week because I slept all day Saturday and got up at around 7 o'clock. And by the time I got out of the house, it was more like 9 o'clock when I finally got ready. So, and next week, obviously, I hope I don't deal with the same situation in those three, tomorrow, Tuesday, and Wednesday, but not deal with the same bullshit I've dealt with for the last couple months going back to work. I've done more work in the 4 months since I come back to work than I think some of these people have done for the last 9 months. I wish I was joking. I really do, but why? How can I joke about the truth? I can't even, I'm not even, if you could actually see through this mic, you will not see a smile on this face. So that's how annoyed I am. And today especially, I'm very annoyed. Or I should say as of yesterday. because, it's a very important day. And does it get taken seriously? No, of course not. It's just another day of the week. It's another Sunday. It's another whatever day it is when 9/11 once again rolls around for another year. And you know what? It didn't take that long for people to forget about it. That's the thing that's really sad. So I did pull something up that I kind of wanted to read it. It's getting so warm in my room from all this computer equipment that everything's starting to kind of take a slow dive. I actually got a friend of mine said I should get. I had a brain scan done from this neurologist, and my friend said you need to write something up for work so they know what's going on, or not even get something written up for work, but get something that describes exactly what your diagnosis was. So I asked this neurologist, "Can you please do this?" And his name is, it looks like Igor. My one friend said he sounds like with the name he has, his first and last name, he's got to be from the Soviet Union. Not that it's important. The guy's pretty damn good. So I asked him, can you write something up with, specifically what is the diagnosis and what it was the cause to cause this diagnosis? Was it like from, my one friend said to ask him, which I did ask him, was this a cause from when I had spinal meningitis? Did it cause brain damage or what? And he said I was born with this. So I can't read this man's handwriting. But at the same time, most doctors, you can't read their handwriting. But for what I need it for, the purpose what I'll need this for, this should be pretty effective, I think. He basically wrote out from this neurology group down here from around where I live in Bluebell. It says the patient has a lifelong history of a learning disability and brain malformations, possibly responsible for his symptoms. If you if you need additional information or prognosis, feel free to contact me. Is what he wrote. So because this stuff is under it's confidentiality. He can't disclose any more than what he wrote on that thing. That's the bottom line. Even for me, he would have to, which I did give him permission, but he would have to. I'd have to go through a whole thing of written, of a written document or whatever to say, okay, yes, give me more information, which I did tell him, but it didn't seem to work. For work, though, considering I told him this is going to be for work as well, he can't go any further. The only way he can go further is if they request, well, this does not clarify what he has, which I think it's pretty simple. He tried to make it simple and straight to the point for my job. Now, my one friend said this will not change anything, and maybe you're right, but the thing is, the fact that when you have a neurological problem, there's no way you can fucking change that. You're not going to grow brain cells when there was nothing there to begin with. I mean, you're basically grasping at straws or, a solution to something that has no fucking solution. And I will get repercussions on what I just said. I know I will at this point. So why did you say it? Because I needed to get it out. Well, I forget. I don't know. Maybe I will. I don't even fucking care. There you go. There it is in a nutshell. I didn't mention any names this time. So anyway, I hope that will work. And I'm not saying that in the hopes of wishful thinking. I'm just saying I hope it works. Because I don't know what else to fucking say. Because no matter no matter what comes out of my mouth, it's always going to be fucking wrong. I can't say anything correctly. I can't pronounce anything correctly. I can't do anything correctly. I'm just a big buffoon, but yet I work, pay my bills, pay my parents a decent amount of money as, as board. It's actually double what they requested. I give them double. They asked me a certain percentage of money they want on a weekly basis, and I doubled that. No questions asked. You're going to take it. They fight me tooth and nail. They don't want to take the extra money I give them every week. I give it to them anyway. because they help me out. So it's not like I'm a freeloader. I am not sponging off of anybody else. You know, I know my situation, and bottom line, it's not going to fucking change. You can pretend that it will. You can live in that fantasy world. Well, you're just exaggerating. You want people to feel sorry for you. Well, guess what? No, I'm not. On any of those standards, I am not making any of this stuff up. So, forever who thinks that way, get that out of your head, please. Just, I just want to smack you on the face like in the Three Stooges because you're not listening. So anyway, I watched these two specials, these two documentaries, and they were actually pretty cool. And they were on Amazon Prime because, for some reason, all you ever do, Walter, is just watch nonsense. No, that's not necessarily the truth. Maybe most of the time because I need to get my mind off of the stress that I'm under on a daily basis. I need something that is stress-free, that has nothing to do with fucking work, nothing to do with everyday life. It has to be completely, something off the record, so to speak. That doesn't make any sense to some people, but to me, it makes perfect sense. I need something that has nothing that will make me even more stressed out. So here, by the way, I did watch two specials that were really good. There's a whole slew of them if you really want to check through them on Amazon and on Netflix. So the one I actually watched two I watched on Amazon, not the same night, because they weren't that long. They were only an hour pop. One was on, let me make sure that everybody can hear me correctly, John Merrick. The Elephant Man. I did say Merrick, not Merritt, but Merrick. Don't ask me to spell it because there's no reason for me to do that. If you don't know who the guy is, you're pretty sad sap of shit. Anyway, they were doing a thing. It was on a couple years ago. I remember vaguely watching part of it. I never got to watch the whole thing. And they went through the family tree. Now, I think Potter was the mother's maiden name for John Merrick. And he was born a normal child. There was nothing wrong with the man. But then he had different types of, two types of, pretty severe diseases that has left him at the age of 27 back in 18-something, I think 1890 or something, that he ended up, the pain got so excruciating, he basically kind of almost committed suicide. He would have died either way, because what happened was the bone never stopped growing. At a certain age, he just started to get big tumors and large mass of flesh and a large amount of bone that was growing, making his head extremely heavy. But the bone matter wasn't only growing outwards, it was actually pressing in on his inside of his cranium, on his brain, which made it pretty much, a horrible way for anybody to live. So they said at pretty much one point, in the present time, that these families of the Potters and the Merricks had basically hid the fact that they were even remotely related to John Merrick. It was like something you basically pushed under the rugs. You don't want people to know that you're related to this guy. And that's horrible. But it's the truth. So they hid the fact that they were actually, what do you call it again? They were related to John Merrick, but they decided to do this documentary and investigation for different reasons on, what causes this disease. Is it hereditary? Is it in the DNA? Blah, blah, blah. And apparently it seems that they found out that, yeah, it can be. Certain things are hereditary. I learned this. Even though I I didn't fail the class. I didn't get a passing. Well, I got a passing grade, not the passing grade necessary. when years ago I had taken a class in biology. I had taken some classes in chemistry, biology. This was for my job to advance my degree into something else. And the biology class, they talked about how genetics is passed on. And yes, it is in genetics. It's in your DNA. And it goes, I remember taking this in biology, that, certain things get passed on, besides eye color, skin color, your pigmentation, you name it, or any, genetic defects also get, sent down the family tree. I'm not doing a very good analysis on how to explain this, but you know what? I'm not a show on, medicine. I'm not a show on anything, actually. I'm just a show on basically voicing my opinion, which apparently that's prohibited for me to do, at least. I shouldn't really be talking about stuff unless I am right on the ball and I know precisely what I'm talking about. I should not open my mouth. Even on something that only 5 or 10 people, if I'm lucky, at any given point, will be listening to. So that's, you know what? Go fuck yourself. For anybody who thinks that way. So, but genetics are passed on. Your DNA is passed through. Now, over the generations, certain things may resurface. But they're going to become, because I remember learning this from biology. There is things that are called the regressive gene or whatever. That, over the years, that becomes more recessive. Like certain traits or certain types of defects, they won't work their way out. They're probably going to still be there. Genetic defects. They're going to still be there, but they're going to be more of a recessive gene, which the chances of getting those recessive genes, may it be that you get now. I'm not a doctor, so I'm not a person who studied medicine or science. I was not a science major and never will be. I'm just saying from what I know, far to what I know, or, it might not be 100% right. I'm letting you know now. But, certain things will become more of a recessive gene. Like, for instance, I'm going to say, because this is like a kind of a genetic defect. What if you become a person who has offspring with a child who has Down syndrome or who's albino? Well, if that gene is in there, it might skip so many generations and it could resurface after, I'm going to take a educated guess, like the 4th generation. But that gene is still there. It's just basically, it's like shuffling a deck of cards. You don't know what you're going to get, but that's the decks. The 52 cards in that deck is not going to change. I don't know how many. I vaguely can remember that stuff about chromosomes and the whole genetic thing. Because I vaguely could understand it back when I had to do all this stuff and learn in biology. The bottom line, it doesn't go away. It's the way how it's dispersed from one generation to the next. That's the best way I know how to put it. May not be 100% correct, but that's the best way I know how to put it. So don't shoot me for not knowing 100%. I'm not trying to give a lecture on. This is a freaking show that nobody listens to, and the few people that do barely stay in there for the whole 9 hours of my show anyway. I'm just being exaggerating. But yeah, the bottom line is most people don't stay the whole time to listen to my show. So anyway, there is some truth to this, that you got certain genes and they do get passed on. Just trying to make a point. So the whole purpose of this show, why would they? Well, they do waste money on certain things, but this thing was actually really interesting. With this whole thing with John Merrick. And, the fear was, and there was people like on the Potter side who had no clue they were related because it got so pushed under the rug. I don't know how else to put it. Of them being related to the Merricks somehow, over the generations, the Merrick and Potters were related through this one person that, even though he didn't have offspring, but that woman who was a Potter, John Merrick's mother, and the father who was the Merrick, they needed to know, okay, is this gene passed down? These genes that were, regressive genes that caused this mutation in this man that was so horrendous that after a while, certain people, he couldn't even go out in public because he just looked so frightful that he had to cover, he had to stay out of the public eye. Now, what people are afraid of that are related to both the Potters and the Merricks is, okay, can this gene surface sometime again where this same incident could, or, this same thing could happen again to somebody else? And, you have an offspring that's going to have the same problem that John Merrick had. That was the whole purpose of the show. And my thing is, maybe not to the severity what he had. That was a freak accident. No other way I can think how to put it. But it was some type of freak accident. Could it happen again? Probably, most likely not. But it's not out of the picture. That could possibly happen. Not to the severity we would, again, it's hard to say. But what they did in the research on this through DNA, they actually got his bones and they were able to find DNA that wasn't tampered with, which was very difficult because, what is that? That's over 100 years ago or whatever it was. Yeah, I think it was over 100 years ago. People tampering with the remains of John Merrick's carcass or his bones, that the thing you have to worry about is, are you going to get 100% of his DNA or to get somebody else who had basically tampered with his bones? And this was the issue that they were worried about during this show. Well, somehow they got some woman who actually has dealt with, pulling DNA out of historical, I'm not going to say, historical, I can't even think of the correct word, but people from our past that she's successfully been able to pull, a clean set or strand or whatever you want to call it of DNA from certain individuals that are from hundreds of years ago. It's not easy, and you're always taking the chance. The one for John Merrick, by the way, they said was, I think the chances of them getting successfully a accurate DNA strand from his bones was so, it was like, I think it was zero, like next to zero. It was like next to zero. Like it was, if you could do it, it would be like basically parting the Red Sea, because it was, they said it would be impossible, but they were going to try. Somehow they were successful. They were shocked that they were actually able, and how they did it was they compared his DNA, which they wanted to make sure it was his actual DNA print. They compared it to an relative, or what do you call it, an offspring of today, because the DNA would show a certain pattern. And they could match that up to see that his DNA, I'm not doing a very good job again, that his DNA with his, descendants of today, there should be certain patterns, so it should be exactly the same. And when you get a matched print of DNA that's, got the same, because you're a relative of the Potter family or of the Merrick, you can, believe it or not, like my ancestors from 100 years ago, if we wanted to make sure we got an accurate, an ancestor of mine, an accurate pull of their DNA, what they would do is do a blood test on me, take a blood sample of me, because your DNA is in every part of your body. And they would match it up to an ancestor from 100 years ago, and there are certain things in that DNA pattern that will match up. So you basically are looking for something that matches. And when you do that, by doing this, you can figure out, okay, this is actually truly that ancestor's DNA. It is not anybody else's by, somebody else. Because if somebody even just touches something, there could be skin follicles or, DNA like in your dead skin cells that might have landed even on Merrick's or, through oil prints or whatever by touching his John Merrick's remains could have changed the DNA. Like, you're not getting an accurate, I can't even think of the right word. You're not getting the actual accurate DNA that would be his. You're getting somebody else's. Just by simply people, touching his remains. So that's what made it very difficult. And over the past 100 years of other people examining his remains could make it, or would make it, physically impossible to get an accurate, what do you call it? They basically did some, inside the skull, they chipped off some of the bone inside the skull. And somehow they actually did successfully get some, like they shredded some of the bone off his skull from the inside that wasn't tampered with. So, but my main point that I wanted to get to, though, which I haven't yet, obviously, is through, family history, you can learn a lot. Like, if I try to explain this to a friend and he kind of, either I didn't do a good job, explaining myself, or he just was trying to rub me off. I don't know. But I have a family history on both sides of mental illness, which I've suffered from, heart disease, which I think it has ran into our existing family members, high cholesterol, high blood pressure. Cancer is definitely the number one, though, because I've had on both sides problems where family members have died from cancer on both sides. So, there's a whole list of problems, and I try to even explain to a friend, I've gotten like the worst gene pool from both sides of the family, the family tree. Like I've nothing's been missed out. If there's like, if you could, like, I think my one brother has maybe one or two of the problems that, were passed down the family gene line. Another brother may have gotten the most minute problem, which is like basically he's got a full head of hair that's great. It has nothing to do with his lifespan. But, they didn't get everything. Me, it was like, okay, we're not going to give you any of the good gene pool. We're going to give you everything that is genetically bad, passed down from both sides of the family. So if you go by that, since I've gotten everything else, my lifespan's not going to be very long. That's, I'm not trying to make people feel sorry. It's just, if you follow that, you got to be more careful, because even the one friend that I discussed this with through a voicemail, he said, yeah, you're right about that, Walter. He says, I've been told that myself, another friend, that you really got to pay attention to your family tree. So if you have, a family tree where the genetics is bad, or you have high risk of cancer, high risk of cholesterol, your lifespan is for 50 or 60 years, you got to kind of take that in consideration. Sometimes you can kind of tamper with your destination, but not by that much. unfortunately. So the best thing you can do is just take better care of yourself and hope for the best. But it's not going to change the situation. If your lifespan's meant to be short, it's going to be short. If meaning from cancer of some sort, diabetes, some type of other I can't think some type of other dysfunctional problem. I can't even think of the right word, so don't even try to ask me what do you mean, because I don't know how to put it. The bottom line is, you can't, there's certain things that are just in your genetics. And mine is, I said to my mother's father passed away. His heart, the valves in his heart just burst. And he was only 57. So it's scary. And then my dad's brother died of cancer. He had cancer of the throat. He had other relatives that had cancer. My mother had a couple sisters died of cancer. So, and they all died around the same time period, So it's just like, I've gotten every bad, gene from both sides. I've been passed as I put it, a bad deck of cards. Like, I can't get any worse. So to me, it's very scary. It's, how else do I put it? Oh, well, it's no big deal. I'll just ignore it and it will go away. If I just pretend it's not there, it's not going to happen. Well, guess what? No, it's going to do actually the opposite. You can ignore it, but instead of going away, it's going to hit you right in the face when it's too late. Oh, well, I should have taken this more, and then that would be the last word I'll say. I should have taken this more seriously. Well, it's too late. So guess what? And I'd rather, have a reality check and realize that, this could be the situation. I'm not going to pretend it's not. I'm not going to get myself stressed out about it. Sounds like I am, but I really am not. Anyway, so that's what I gather when I watch this thing on John Merrick. It's like, well, it is important to look at your family tree. Bottom line, that's what I'm trying to say. It is very important. Saying that it's not is not going to change the situation, because trust me, that's why they do stuff like this, research and, in your family history and stuff. There's a reason for this stuff. It's not for you to ignore or make a big issue out of that it's not important, because it really is. So, yeah, just letting you know. The other one I watch, which is very close to home, because I've suffered from this since I was a little kid, like 5 years old, probably when it started with me. Obsessive compulsive disorder. So I watched something on that too. And that one was actually really, really good. That was only aired originally last year, 2015. So that's very up to date. So the thing that was interesting, that these people who suffered and were, severe cases like I was of obsessive compulsive disorder were all from like Scotland and England. So obviously this is not like me with an isolated case. This is like people, this documentary that was done on people with OCD, and the guy even said, he says, some people say, oh, it's just something, it's a click in the brain or a hiccup in the brain. This one guy said, literally on this documentary, says he told those people to go fuck themselves because they have no clue what's going on. And it just made me want to stand up and cheer. It's like, yeah, I've been saying this for years. So this documentary on OCD that's on Amazon, I definitely recommend for a lot. You have to live with it. It's like an alcoholic, but this is even more than just a person who's an alcoholic. It doesn't go away. You can make this, they even said, these doctors said, you can probably, if you're lucky, you get the symptoms under control by 60%, maybe 80 or even 90%. But it's something you have to deal with for the rest of your life. It's not going away. It's something, when you have OCD, it's more than just a hiccup. It's not a brain it is some type of thing with the brain. Now, the one guy who had his severity got worse with OCD, literally after he had brain damage, which I've suffered the same thing. So that makes OCD, yes, it is a physiological, neurological problem. It's not a psychological problem. And they wanted to clarify this on this special. That's another thing that makes this so important for those who don't understand what I go through or the way I think, that it's not me just thinking exaggerated or bizarre thoughts or unrealistic thoughts, because even these people on this special said right out, make it very clear, they made it very, very clear, that it's not that they're nuts. Like so many people love to think, it's not that they're nuts. It's that it's something they can't help, and it makes them feel better when they realize, which most of the people I know think that this is something I can control. You know, it's like telling a person who has Tourette's that they can control their obscenities that come out of their mouth. Like they can control that. They should be able to control it. No, they can't. And it's the same thing with OCD. That was what came out of this. Now, if you don't believe me, you go tell those people, whoever it may be, who made this documentary, that they're full of shit and they have no fucking clue what they're talking about. And tell these people who are victims the exact same thing. You know what? You're full of shit. You have no fucking clue what you're talking about. Even though I have no clue and I've never examined or experienced what you're going through, I know more about it than you do. That's going to be the outcome, because you have no fucking clue. Bottom line, you have no fucking clue. So don't even act like you do. I'm just saying in general. I'm just checking what's going on with my computer on the side that I recorded on. So that actually made me feel really good. That, I've heard for years how it must be, it's me that needs to change. And I've tried. And I've tried to control my situation. I try to keep it that I'm a functional person of this world and not a dysfunctional. Because at one point in time, my situation was so bad, what I was looking for or towards was a life in a mental state hospital. I mean, till the day I die, I would have not seen the light of day outside of a mental state hospital or some type of living situation. And the only reason that I'm out on the outside right now is because when I was younger, my parents couldn't afford to take care of me, because when you're a person who has mental or neurological problems, it's up to that that person who is either a parent or a guardian. It's their responsibility to take care of you. And I try to explain that to people. I may sound like I'm normal, which I am to a certain extent, but there's certain things that are out of my control, and I will hear about that I have no fucking clue what I'm talking about. So, if anything, heaven forbid, happens to my parents, most likely I will go into one of these living situation things, or I will have to have a guardian take care of me. But until that time comes, I will cross that bridge when it happens. So, but you got to think outside the box. Most people don't know how to. They look at the picture from their perspective. They don't look at it from any other angle except their perspective. They have no fucking clue what is going on in my world. They only know what's going on in their world, and everything revolves around what they see, not what really is happening outside of their eyes. They can't see beyond that point. I'm just trying to be truthful. It's harsh, but it's the absolute truth. So, just trying to clarify to my best of my knowledge. I mean, I've had a lot of, solid proof now on issues that just seem to be pushed under the rug, or, Walter, you have no clue what you're talking about, but yet I do. So I just needed to get this out for the last hour and 20 minutes. So, and it does really bother me that people just constantly don't wish to listen to the truth. They only want to see and hear what they think is the truth, not what really is the truth. So, yeah, I don't know if there's anything else I need to discuss on this point, but I would recommend both those things, the one on the OCD and the one on John Merrick. I did want to mention again. Oh, wow. No, it isn't. Girl looks like Sherry Moon. I thought it was actually almost at first. Some picture from a horror convention. But yeah, I mean, it's just, to me, I think it's more frustrating to have to deal. I mean, it was actually one thing that stuck out in my mind watching this documentary, the one on the OCD. One thing that really stuck out in my mind was the one guy who was just as severe as I was with his OCD. He basically had on, he couldn't leave the house. He lived in by himself somehow. I don't know who was funding him to live that way in a flat. But he said that anybody who comes into his territory can't touch anything. Means the ground, literally the ground. How do you walk then? Well, I don't know. The ground, the walls, anything got touched had to be scrubbed down because it would be contaminated then. And mine wasn't on the cleaning thing as much as other things like number counting and other things, but it was definitely there on my OCD. So, and it's a hell that I went through my whole entire life. And it was worse. But this guy, though, that I'm mentioning now, he had on a shirt with Christ on the cross, a T-shirt with Christ on the cross. Years ago, ironically, my father, when I was 17 years old, which was a long time ago, or 16 years old, he broke down and cried in front of me, which he never does. And he said to me that, up to that point, which I've never stopped doing, that I've carried my cross for years. And he doesn't know how I did it. To suffer through the stuff I had to suffer through. So I've never stopped carrying my cross. People who have the issues I do in life. So I'm another one. Mine goes behind, besides typical genetic problems, I have, again, the worst gene pool, which have caused and created a lot of issues. And somehow that is out of my hands. Now, for a person who has no genetic, I don't know how else to put it, so I'm going to put it this way, no genetic defects, their only issue is their ethnicity, their sex, or something on that line. That is their only problem, and that their only genetic defect is they're just plain fucking lazy. But that is plausible for them not doing anything. That is plausible. That's okay. That is a legitimate excuse for why they can't do certain things. And yes, I am referring to my job. Now, me, I have a plethora of issues, but is that an excuse for me complaining or whatever? No, actually, no, it's not. So this is the world that Walter lives in. Now, another thing that was interesting, which I did want to mention, that's what I actually went back and I got lost on looking at other stuff that I wanted to look at on my Facebook page, which is now going to be really buried, is I was kind of shocked. It was one friend sends me a lot of these political things on YouTube. And for somehow mixed in with there was the stuff I complain about when I complain about the opposite sex. And I'm not kidding. And I almost had to actually physically almost had to burst out laughing when I saw these, because these guys talk and say exactly what I do, that it's not just me who thinks this way. pertaining to women in spandex or being promiscuous. So it wasn't me, and actually scared me because when I'm like the person, if you think a certain way, you're going to get a zap of electricity or something. Like you're going to get cognitive behavior therapy from my friend or friends that I should not think that way. But then I open up Pandora's box on YouTube because I found this one guy. Then I found this other guy. They're all they have these videos, which I was going to put in the beginning of my show, who are talking or saying exactly, and even to a larger, more extreme extent, saying the exact same thing I do, but even to a more extreme. Again, I will try to look for those really quick because I don't want to fit those in. It's just going to be, oh, here we go. They weren't that far. So if you want to look for these folks, you can look them up yourself and know that I'm not full of shit. One is titled, "And Then Women Wonder Why They Get Catcalled, Street Harassed." And he put street harassed in parentheses, or what do you call it, in quotations. And, I mean, I don't go this far. I've gone far, but not this far. He actually videotaped from his car, this guy. And he's got a whole list of them, and he's not very well liked by certain people who will defend these type of women. But I still thought it was kind of funny that I thought I was under the impression I'm the only one who thinks these delusional thoughts, apparently, but they're not delusional because other people, maybe they are delusional. I don't know, but other people think exactly the way I do. And these are people that don't even know each other. So that one actually was from, what does it say, redpillphilosophy.com. And it says this girl probably was probably hoping to get catcalled, get the red pill. So I don't know what that stands for. I'm going to open it up now. I think I got my volume all the way down. And the guy is like a decent-looking guy. So he's not like some hillbilly. You can't tell because he kind of covered his face. Well, he has facial hair in this one particular video. But I'm looking at the other videos that are joined to his thing, and one's called a Slut Walk 2014. Feminism is bullshit. And this is on YouTube, by the way. Why I no longer hold the door to open for pretty girls. There's a whole list of them. I'm not going to go through all these. These get a little bit, there's too many. They get a little wild after a while. So, again, it was from Red Pill Philosophy. This guy's got a webpage. I subscribe to it now. And he's got, like, other people. It was over 1,000. You know, it's not a lot, but he's definitely got over 1,000 people who gave him the thumbs up on his belief that women call attention amongst themselves. Now, again, and maybe it's not that many. Well, here we go. He actually has, maybe not everybody responds to everything he does, but his political view, not political view, his view on at least this one perspective, and probably others like this. He's got, let's see, subscriber-wise, he's got over 146,000 people. That's nothing to sneeze at. He's got almost 80,000 views on that one that he actually, you know, I think some people are just too afraid to acknowledge, hey, I believe in what you do, because then they're going to get laughed at. He's got over 100, he has 146, almost 147,000 people that subscribe to his web link. So what is that telling you? So the other one's called Mr. E at Slut Walk 2014. So again, this is me being delusional. I'm the only one who actually physically thinks this way. Now, I know my one friend or basically just say, well, I just don't care about this stuff. But the point is, I don't care if you care about it or not, but I'm just saying there's other people who get offended. I'm not supposed to get offended by people who do things in one way or another that are offensive. I mean, I've had at work that people are quickly there to gather that they're being victimized by me, and I'm not going to mention individuals' names because I can, but I'm not, and don't even pressure me into that. And, but I'm not supposed to get offended by it, though. I am not supposed to get offended by that. But then on the other hand, if I even just basically say one thing out of line and that offends somebody, that is supposed to be taken extremely seriously. That is supposed to be taken, again, like, oh, this is very serious, but okay, but you just told me not to take this kind of stuff that seriously. I'm like kind of putting too much focus on here. Will you tell these 200,000 other people, or 146, whatever, because that's one individual. And like I said, there's other ones who have just as many followers, if not more, on the same kind of subject line. So again, I'm just telling you. So you're let me know that the 150, the 200,000 other people, which doesn't sound like a lot, but that's more than just me complaining. That's a lot more than just, because what I hear, it's just me who kind of just focuses way too much on this one subject line or many subject lines, and nobody else does. So you're telling me that this 150 or 200,000 other people don't exist, or just figments of my imagination then? So I'm just asking, hey. So let me look for the other one, because I actually lost it now. The other one was, because I remember reading this on the news, but this guy made a big point about it. And this guy his handle on YouTube is Lord Spada. And some people just kind of ripped into him because of what he was wearing and stuff. He kind of reminds me of myself, this guy. But he did a video. He does a lot of videos. This one's only 1 minute and 5 seconds. Ugly woman wants physical loving, and it's basically him just hashing in this woman who basically beat the shit out of her boyfriend because he wouldn't have sex with her. And she openly admitted, this one woman who is really fugly, that she actually did have sex with multiple other partners. So there was actually a third one too. Now let me see what it hits this one got. Maybe not that many, I don't know. Okay, that got 1,800 hits. Well, that's not that much, Walter. Well, he's got 47,000 subscribers, this other guy. So again, it's one of these things, it's just me who just basically puts all his time and focus on this, and actually nobody else really puts that much time or effort into this, just me. So, yeah, you can say, well, that's not that many people. Yeah, you're right. That's not that many people. Well, that's more than you telling me that I'm the only one who, who focuses on this. Because obviously I am not the only one. There is many others who do. And it's a lot more than the number of one. That's what I'm trying to say. Because that's all I do here. Well, it's just like one person. It's you. Not many other people that are would spend this kind of time focusing on this kind of stuff. Well, guess what? Yeah, they do. So that's a lot different. I'm not trying to. That's why I'm not mentioning names. I just want to make this clear that I am not the only one who focuses on this stuff. So does that make it any better? Well, on your opinion, the answer the way you want to hear it. No, it doesn't make it any better, but I'm just saying, why why single me out that I'm the only person who basically focuses on specific things of importance or non-importance? Why is it just me when there's 200,000 other people, 150,000 other people, 50,000 other people who think exactly the way I do? Then that kind of changes the whole spectrum on things, in my opinion. I'm just saying. Now, this other one I was looking for, which I had it, I just couldn't get it to open up. And now I lost it. So, this is going to be really difficult. I think it's just because the computer's getting overheated now, so it's acting up. So hopefully it's not as far, because the first two weren't that far down as well. I heard that Hillary Clinton was passing out again today. I heard this is not the first time either that she kind of got a dizzy spell or something. So I don't know how long she's going to be able to stay into the race anyway. And what that will mean if she finally has to withdraw her, what is it called, candidacy or whatever for president, because it might come down to that. Okay, now I found the other one. Now this guy, he's got the Howard Stern fist as his slogan, but it says Lord Spot. Okay, so it's Lord Spada again, but he has, I didn't realize that he actually had that. But he has this thing about Lindsay Ann Romansky or something, yoga teacher, naughty girl is what it says. And he goes into a discussion about this whole thing. That this woman, she was pleading she was trying to plead her innocence after, and he's got a t-shirt on this video, this guy, Lord Spada, that says whatever, which is pretty funny. He's an older guy, probably like around my age. But he just goes in the facts, like, okay, you basically had sex from everywhere from an 11-year-old to a 12-year-old to a 15-year-old. And his point was, and she was trying to say, well, I was given, which was a really poor excuse. It was a woman who basically, she pleads not guilty, accused of exposing herself to teens and basically eventually having sex with, or giving oral sex to one of them, which was a 15-year-old. But a yoga instructor, victims were guests from a bar mitzvah party, and her excuse was she was given that, according to this, that date rape drug. She was saying that she was a victim of the date rape drug. She had no clue what she was doing. Like she was innocent the whole thing. And the guy basically said, why can't you, if you're going to have sex with a bunch of guys, which she did, oral sex, whatever, or have them fondle your breast, why don't you find some guy that's like at least, he even said at least legal, like 18, and he said like 18, 19, or 20s. Why do you have to do this to, kids that are illegal? And I think it was him, Lord Spotter, or some of these other guys I kind of bled through on YouTube, who basically don't buy this bullshit of like women being victims, these teachers. They don't buy that for a minute. And actually, it might have not even been that. I think it was actually, believe it or not, even women who actually respond and say they don't buy this bullshit of being victimized and stuff. So it was one of those factors. I don't remember, honestly, because there was a couple things like that I went through. So there's a couple things I just wanted to clear the air about. One main thing that I wanted to mention, again, was that yesterday now, was a very important day. That it was September 11th, and, the amount of people who died that day, and it's just kind of like looked at as, not a big deal. And I tell you, if they made it a day off, you know what it'd end up being? Another day for people to cause havoc, watch football games, or basically, or basically get sloshed. It won't matter that it would be a day that we're paying our respects to people that got murdered. That's going to mean absolutely nothing. What it's going to basically end up being is going to be a day, oh, wow, it's another day I can basically get drunk and slosh. This is great. I don't have to work. It's another day I get paid to do nothing. The unions will make sure of that. I guarantee you, in the near future, I would bet my life on that one. Somewhere down the line, folks, the unions are going to come up with this idea, this brainstorm. Hey, you know what? We should make 9/11, which would be nice. Don't get me wrong. It would be very nice. Make 9/11 a holiday respectfully. We should make this a national holiday because people died on that day. I guarantee you this will happen. And when that does happen, it's just going to turn into another unionized holiday for people to basically become morons and idiots and very disrespectful to those who had, gave their lives for no apparent reason or who gave their lives in a heroic way. That's going to mean absolutely nothing. That's going to mean nothing. And that's the part that is going to bother me. So, that being said, I'm just going to let you know, this is Walter from iWalter, and I am signing off for now. I hope you enjoyed my show. Thank you. And have a good September 10th. Thank you very much.